Hello and welcome to Superconnectivity. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser. And with me, as always, is the man who knows things. He doesn't drink, but he knows things.
Phil, fill me in Parrish.
That's the man. Hey, Phil. A few things to talk about tonight. We're not going to talk too much about the movie that's coming out today. It's already out.
Well, we didn't see it yet, so we really can't talk much about it.
Well, we could talk about what we've heard, the rumors. I got that spoiler that broke my heart. I don't know how I'm going to deal with that.
Oh no!
Yes.
You didn't even tell me what it was. So
I know I haven't told anyone yet. I saw it and was like, anyway. But we'll see what happens.
Well,
you know what I always say is these are Asgardians, and they're fighting the goddess of death. And maybe if Valhalla is real, am I spoiling too much now?
I don't know. Now you're saying Valhalla. You said something about because of what the character pertains to, and I know who one of your favorite characters is in that mythos.
Oh no. Okay, yeah. So
I'm putting things together in my head. I don't know if that's what you were suggesting, but an idea popped into my head.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see how it plays out tomorrow. I got to find the money for that. Yeah. I only read one comic book this week, which was Avengers Champions crossover, which I'm really enjoying. I did get Captain America, but then I had to run out on Thursday. I was going to read it on the train, and I realized when I was on the train, oh no, I forgot something I needed for work at home. So I had to get off the train, switch trains, run back home. I realized I left it on the train.
You know what? I feel bad for you, but if there's one comic this week that I think, it would benefit someone just finding and reading, I think it's that Captain America.
Well, good, man. So hopefully that will inspire some young child's lifelong love of Captain America. And they'll say, yes, and I owe it all to that day I found a Captain America on the Newark City subway. Such a great book. Yes. So, but I know you read it, Phil. And I know you do want to talk about it.
Oh yes, Captain
So
America.
I'm just gonna fake my way through it while you're talking.
Captain America 695, Home of the Brave, Part 1.
Okay.
It's pretty interesting because it opens up. I mean, there's the first page is just like a quick recap of Captain America's origin, World War II, getting frozen.
His real origin.
Yes.
Because you do see that Erskine's there.
I mean, it's only 5 panels, but yeah.
Yeah, but we see that his real origin, his real story is again the status quo of this universe.
But so they did that quick recap, and it ends with him being frozen, and then it opens up with a scene. I guess it takes place like right after he gets, the Avengers find him and throw him out and everything, and he's fighting these terrorists, and it's just some organization called Rampart, and I guess they're supposed to be like white supremacists or something. And it's Bhutan, Nebraska, and I guess this group tried to take over a police station to get national attention, Cap said, but meanwhile they didn't count on a group of kids being there on a field trip.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, Cap's protecting the kids and fighting the terrorists, and he's telling. Meanwhile, a young girl and a young boy get separated from the rest of the class, and Cap finds them under a desk, and he's telling the girl, he's like, okay, you have to protect him, and she says, he's telling her she has to protect the boy, and she's like, why? He says because he's smaller than you. He's like, stay here, I'll be right back. He's fighting the terrorist, whipping the shield around, takes a bunch of them out, and then they look like they're all down, but one's about to shoot Cap from behind, and then the girl jumps up and jumps in front of Cap and says, no! But then Cap takes the blast with his shield, and he says, he's like, Donna, sweetheart, I'm stronger. I protect you. That's the rule.
Aww.
And then I guess the terrorists knock down this American flag, so Cap picks it up and puts it around the girl's shoulders.
Oh. Now this is supposed to take place just after he's unfrozen, or is this in our current?
No, this is right after he's deflawed, because everyone's going, "Who are you? Who are you?" And as he rides away, he's like, "Ask your grandparents; they might know."
Okay.
But then So yeah, after that scene, it opens up 10 years later, which is the
Mm-hmm.
present, supposedly the
Mm-hmm.
present. Cap's riding back into town, which the townspeople have renamed Captain America, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the middle of the 10th annual Captain America celebration.
Yay! Oh, that must have been a rough year. The
What?
previous one.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, you know.
Well, Steve Rogers comes in, out of costume, and surprisingly, no one recognizes him. But so he goes over to like the hot dog stand, and like he's like asking the kid selling hot dogs, what's going on, and the kid tells him, 10 years ago, these guys, these white supremacists attacked, and he's like, then after that, the vote to rename the town in his honor was nearly unanimous,
Mm-hmm.
and Steve's like, he's like, oh yeah, that's right. He's like, that's after he came out of the ice, right? And the kid's like, oh, you're an icer, and Steve's like, what? And he's like, oh, you believe that stuff about the Avengers finding him in ice? And the kid's like, and Steve's like, as opposed to, and the kid's like, well, come on, it's like Abraham Lincoln waking up, except kids had heard of Abraham Lincoln. He's like, back then you had to have known your World War II history to know who Captain America was. He's like, and the kid's like, my theory is, the government saw how popular the Avengers were coming, so they just like handpicked a guy to put on a cap suit, and for good PR, they said, "Oh, hey, this is the legend from World War II. Come back, from the
Mm-hmm.
dead." So,
Which, for what it's worth, the government has done in the past.
yeah, true.
Mm. Ooh, I wonder if that means we might see William Burnsides again.
Maybe, but then a bunch of people get up and they're telling their stories. People have come from all over the country. Cap saved me. Cap did this. There's even kids saying, I was inspired to stand up to bullies because of Cap, and
Oh.
And then one guy gets up and the one guy's saying, he saw him in Washington a few months ago beating the heck out of some Hydra criminal pretending to be him. He's like, Cap rescued the whole country. It got pretty awful because before Cap stepped up, but they say he had to bust out of a trap first.
Mm-hmm.
He's like,
Yeah.
that sounds about right. He never get up on us. He's like, sure, lots of people are still angry at him for letting it get as far as it did, and I get it, but those people aren't here today.
Aw.
So yeah, people were talking, and then who shows up, Charlie? 10 years later, same.
Donna.
Yeah,
Oh,
the same terrorist organization.
Oh, the same terrorist organization. Oh, those terrorists.
And
When will they ever learn?
the leader's like, 10 years ago we were weak, undermanned, outgunned. Now we're back, stronger than ever. And they decide that, I guess, the big message this time is they're going to open fire on the crowd until guess who? Shield comes in, starts breaking all the guns. So
That's usually how it goes. These guys just have really bad timing.
Steve suits up and takes out, starts taking on the terrorists.
Yay!
And
Take that, Nazis.
Steve's, after they're down, he picks up the leader and he's like, "You think I'm here by coincidence?" He's like, "I have intel. I heard you might stick your repugnant heads up again in this town." He's like, "Tell me more about this rampart now." And the leader says, "You'll learn more soon." And basically, suicide bombs himself.
Vault.
Yeah. So then the townspeople are just looking at Steve, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was here, and like not in costume and stuff." He's like, "But I had heard that they were coming," and he's like, "This was the best way to like flush them, not to have them not see me come in." And he's like, "And honestly, I tend to get a little self-conscious when people make a fuss. I came because I had a job to do."
Oh.
And they're all like, "Oh, you saved us again. You're a hero. You're an inspiration." He's like, "Why? Because I'm tall and I have a shield." He's pointing out to people. He's like, "See that woman? She ran in through the laser fire to help that man without a thought. And that man pulled that girl away from falling rubble. They didn't need to be inspired. That was in them all along. It's in all of us." He's like, "We know what's right. The strong protect the weak. Never forget that." And then there's a young woman. I don't know if that's supposed to be another flag or like a red, white, and blue jacket, but I'm guessing that's Donna 10 years later.
Yeah.
And she's like, "That's the rule. Welcome back."
Aw.
And Steve rides out of town.
Yay!
But
So what did Mark have to say?
all right, Cap's corner. It says, "What does Captain America mean to you?" So I'm thinking some of us should write in and say what Cap means to us. But okay, Mark Waid said, "I started reading comics when I was 4 years old. I was a precocious child. And I love my comics, my DC comics. Back then, there was only one Marvel hero I liked, Captain America. He's like, I later came around. He's like, I admired his nobility and the way he took action where the other Marvel heroes I foolishly disdained would wallow in their troubles. I admired Cap because he stood for something. I admired him because he always had a plan and he never gave up. From the first time I hit first grade, Steve Rogers became my constant companion. In high school, my friend Jeff helped me make a Cap shield out of a plastic sled. It didn't age well, but boy, I carried it around a lot. Also, you try freehand drawing a perfect 5-point star. He's like, in college, my pal Donna made me a Cap jersey, stripes and all. And if you attended Virginia Commonwealth University in the early 1980s, you probably saw me ambling blithely around with a "yeah so" expression. Maybe you heard me. I was the WVCW radio DJ who called himself Captain America. Or maybe you were in my American Civics class where, for an assignment, I actually read aloud Steve Englehart's words from Captain America 183. I share these confessions with you not because I'm in a mood to cringe and embarrassment now, and yet, I'm just willing to go that far to reassure you, if you're a new reader not sure what you're getting into, that Cap has been a meaningful part of my entire life. As unfashionable and retro corny as it is, I have always believed that it's possible to be a good guy, not because you need to exercise some personal demons or because you're expecting some reward, but because life is just better when I watch your back and you watch mine. And I choose to think that, at heart, you believe the same. I don't recommend that as an adult drawing all your morality and ethics from superheroes. They are fortunate enough to live in a wonderful world where might always makes right, one sometimes absent the gray areas we struggle with as we mature. Nonetheless, I will share Steve Rogers' core belief until the day I die. If you have the ability to help, then you have the responsibility because everyone ultimately benefits. Life isn't fair, but people can strive to be, and we are all better for it when we do. Incredibly, by the way, I got a B+ on the assignment. My regrets are minimal. Mark Waid.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, I'd love to get another interview with him. I only had like a half hour with him, and I'm like, what do I talk about? He's written so much Marvel and DC. I'm like,
well, you know what? He's always welcome back. You know.
Oh yeah, I'm trying.
And that was you guys are all welcome back. Anyone who's ever been here, you come on back. Yeah, that was beautiful, man, and I can't wait to read the book. Like I said, I was so sad. I lost my hard copy, but as I said, if some young kid picks it up and starts their lifelong love of Captain America, then the world is a better place.
Let's spread that folktale around that you inspired the next Mark Waid.
Yeah, there we go. Well, you'll know, because we'll be interviewing some kid 10, 20 years from now, and they'll say, yeah, I first got into comics, and I was riding the Newark City subway, and I found Captain America 695. And I go, oh my goodness, give me my book back, you rotten kid!
We'll just be like, scroll down 20 years to Superconnectivity 157.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Anyway, so I only got to read one comic book this week, which was it's a very traditional comic book, not as inspirational as Captain America, but still good.
Hey, another Mark Waid book.
Yeah, Avengers crossover with our champions. It was very good. We go to one of the things I loved about it was there's this one scene in it where, of course, we have this thing where basically as the vibrational attunements of the two Earths come into alignment, people are popping into one world and popping into the other world. And all of a sudden, they're all surrounded by all these Animen, and they're about to fight. And then I believe it's Wasp says, "Wait a minute, what are the odds they're actually an army? Maybe they're just folks from their world who just got plopped here." They're like, "Yeah, dude, I was at practice, and all of a sudden I came here, So that was cool. But then, of course, there is one person there who's like, "No, I'm a zealot, and I will blow things up." Because, as you do, anyway. Yeah, but it was a good book. Viv gets upgraded by High Evolutionary. We're gonna have to see how that plays out.
So is that a new thought? I don't remember from before that Earth and counter Earth are vibrating on different vibrational planes, and that's why the
No,
gravitation
that's actually not new. That's
No?
actually not new. That actually, I want to say that was. I want to say that was actually established.
Maybe Heroes Reborn or something.
Oh, actually, I think they might have made mention of that in the Evolutionary War. But I remember. I think I read that in. I think I read that in the official handbook of entry for Counter Earth. I think so. I could be wrong. I could be completely Mandela affecting that, but I do believe that was something that was suggested before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, and if not, it's a good explanation. Although what I always find weird about it is that actually the Heroes Reborn world wound up as a Counter Earth too.
Mm-hmm.
So there actually are like 3 different planets orbiting. And one of these days, someone's go, "Oh yeah, that Earth." Or actually, I think maybe like the original Counter Earth was destroyed, and then maybe High Evolutionary took over the old Heroes Reborn world. Who knows?
But I mean, are they? Well, they Mark Waid. Is he? Is everybody from Counter Earth coming to this, or more refugees? First, it's the Ultimate Universe and everything from Secret Wars. Now it's Counter Earth because stuff from Counter Earth is getting sucked into our world and vice versa.
I think actually the end game is that both worlds will merge to one world, and then
so we're gonna get
High Evolutionary will rule them all.
Yeah, we're gonna get High Evolutionary and Animen and all that.
Yeah. You know. That's what I say. Yeah, they've been doing a High Evolutionary much more villainy lately.
Mm-hmm.
They don't always play him as a villain, which I find, which is one of the weird things about High Evolution. He's kind of like Damon Hellstrom, you know, where sometimes they basically, depending on what story they want to tell, sometimes he'll be a villain, sometimes he'll be a hero,
or like even one of the Elders of the Universe. It's like, you know, sometimes they'll play him as having like evil intentions. Other times it's just like, you know, I'm just a force of nature.
Yeah. Because I remember, like, the first time I ever read the High Evolutionary was actually when he died. When he fights the Hulk because his armor wouldn't let him die.
Mm.
And he realized the only way he could die is if he had something destroy his armor, and the only thing he could think of that could destroy his armor was the Incredible Hulk. So Hulk smashed his armor, and then he devolves himself back to Paramecium, so he can die. But then he comes back because he re-evolves himself, and then he's evil again. Well, then that's really the start of the Evolutionary War, and then he's like very evil. I guess he's been mostly evil since then. Yeah, he's mostly been evil since then. I guess the whole dying and coming back thing, that turned him kind of...
It's just weird, because, like, Evolutionary War, he was trying to, you know, evolve the entire planet, but then, like, during the 90s, they're like, you know, he was kind of the one, like, holding the Jackal back from, like, you know, cloning everyone. He was, like, trying to keep the knowledge away from the Jackal, but...
Yeah. The Jackal. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So, but that's cool. I'm looking forward to see how it goes. What was kind of weird to me in that is they didn't mention the Vision's second wife, because he has had 3 now. Because he had Wanda, then he had a little totally digital tryst with the High Evolutionary's AI. In like the first, the Uncanny Avengers arc, just after the Vision, basically just after the Vision joins the team, they all go to Counter Earth, and there's a whole High Evolutionary arc there with Brother Voodoo and all that stuff. And he has this thing, and basically what it is the AI, he and the AI basically create hundreds of children to populate a far off planet. And then it was just after that he comes to Earth and decides to create his family. Because I believe that predates when he has his family. So I kind of wonder if they're going to tie all those 3 threads together at some point. with Viv who has been upgraded to have a fully human-looking body. Which I think is kind of silly to think that, that the Vision couldn't have just made her look human if that was what he had wanted. Given that, obviously, Jim Hammond always looked human. Who, of course, they're both made from Horton cells. And,
Don't get me started on that Human Torch Vision thing.
Yeah. Well, they did a little. They just basically did a co-location transporter accident thing in a cosmic universe. It was weird the way they decided to do that. I liked it better that it was re-engineered Horton cells.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you gonna do? And Jim Hammond's alive again now, and but he doesn't turn into fire. Now he just has radiation. Why not? All because of Nighthawk. We'll see what they do with that. But I guess because they were sick of having more than one Human Torch, so they decided to turn him into, I think they call him like the Human Dynamo now or something. I don't know. They gave him some new name. Toro still has fire powers, though. So cool for Toro. And so mad, no one, it's like, they leave these things in those Easter eggs and they never really go back to them. Like the fact that Toro was resurrected by a cosmic cube.
I guess, if another writer wants to pick it up or something, but,
I know, but we have this whole cosmic cube storyline, this whole idea of, infant cosmic cubes being guided by these visions, and then, nope, totally ignore it.
Well, that's like the other thing going back to Cap. I saw something in the last couple of days, maybe it was yesterday or something. Mark Waid was saying something on Facebook. I guess he said people have been asking him, you really didn't, there was like a reference or two, but you really didn't like say anything about the Hydra Cap stuff. And he's like, that ground's been covered. He's like, that was Nick Snyder's big story, or Scott, or Nick Spencer. I'm sorry,
Nick Spencer's yes.
story to tell, and he told it and. He's like, we were covering. We wanted, we wanted to start the bold new direction, and I think he said, who did he say? One of the DC, like, what's the guy's name? Mesner Lowe's, maybe the guy he took over Flash from gave him a piece of advice years ago. It's like, I guess don't write the story that any of the fans could write themselves.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because you don't want to, because you want to be surprised in a good way. We all have our fan theories, and what makes a good writing is that we go, oh, but I didn't think of that. So, good work, Mark. Other book you read, well, you read a lot of books. You always read a lot of books, though. You read the new Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yes.
Which I did browse. And spoilers.
So wait, you want me to go over this?
Oh, yeah, okay, we can go over it.
Basically, Spider-Man needs information, and Jameson's like, I'll give you the information, but you have to sit down with me for an hour and do this interview, and I guess the deal was Spider-Man's like, oh, yeah, well, then you can't write, after that, you can't write about me for a year on your blog. But, so, Jonah makes lasagna, and they sit down, and they have a chat. First, he gives Spider-Man the information, and then Spider-Man's about to take off, and he's like, no, he's like, you made a deal, you're going to honor it, and Spider-Man's like, fine, you have an hour. And the first question, Jameson's like, who are you? He's like, nice try. So Jonah's like, he's like, I was there from the beginning. I guess Jonah was there when he started his TV career.
I remember that.
He's like, I was in the audience for the first time. He's like, I'd never seen anything like you. I admit it. He's like, I'll never tell anyone else, but there it is. You were a great performer. You're an entertainer, and you should have stayed that way. Cause he's telling him, he's like, you should have stayed a TV clown, but now you're a jokey vigilante, answerable to no one, and that mask, the mask of a coward. He's like, you could have been a cop or something, but you wear that mask, so you don't have to answer to anybody. He's like, my blog keeps you in line. And then Spider-Man's like, you idiot. He's like, you've tried to kill me multiple times. He's like, you created the Scorpion and Spider Slayers and 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 Jameson's like, I'm trying to get that damn mask off you. But then Jonah gets that's the reason why he doesn't like masked people. I guess he was saying decades ago he was dating this girl. They got mugged, and I guess he wanted to fight back. The girl told him no, and I guess she got really.
Yeah, this is a variation on an earlier version of his story. Because the original version that they have him say was that his very first wife, I guess John Jameson's mom, was kidnapped by people and was murdered by guys in masks, and so that's why he doesn't like people who wear masks. You know, this I think it's an interesting take on it. It's a little less personal, I think, in a way, because it's not his wife; it's just the girl he was with. But you know, but it also makes a little more sense that he's like in that more close range, and the mask isn't just it's a guys in masks. It's this guy who's hiding himself so he can commit his crimes. You know, but you know, hey, I predicted this. I told you months ago that I bet you that they're gonna. And I was saying for this issue they were gonna have. He's gonna say no. The first time I saw you was in that thing. I saw you as an entertainer. And then, like I said, he says the blog keeps him honest. Just like I said, that's why he says it. Because if someone wasn't reminding Peter Parker, although he does it differently, because I say it's he does it because he wants Peter Parker to be a hero. But the only way he's going to be a hero is if people keep him responsible. Because his base instinct is to be a clown and to make money.
Well, yeah, and, Jameson goes on again. He's like, you could have used your powers to be a cop or join the army or something. You could have done this the right way. And Spider-Man's like, he's like, that's where it's coming for you. He's like, you became mayor of New York, and what's the first thing you did? You created an anti-Spider-Man task force. And, and then they're going on, they're arguing, and Jameson tells him, you don't know the first thing about responsibility. And Peter just starts cracking up. He's like, I wish that were true. I really do. Life would be so much easier. And then Jameson's still calling him a coward, but then he's like, Jameson's like, he's like, I have nothing, my wife is dead, my father is dead. He's like, I have nothing. He's like, I even got my wife back, during the whole clone thing, and he's like, and I lost her again. He's like, he's like, the only thing worth a damn in this world has rejected me. And he's like, what's going on? He's actually breaks down. He's like, I have nothing. And then what happens, Charlie? Spoiler alerts! Spoiler alerts! What happens?
Yeah.
Peter yanks the mask off and says, Jonah, you're not alone.
And he says, Andrew Garfield?
Toby?
What I like. So here's my two questions. One, does J. Jonah Jameson now remember that he knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man before? Does he remember that he was going to sue Peter Parker about this whole thing for the fraud of selling him Spider-Man pictures? And but we don't get an answer to that because we get actually what I thought was the most interesting reveal at the very end. You don't see what the guards on the place say. The actual military guys, and I assume these are actual law enforcement folks.
Oh yeah, they're like because the FBI and whoever else are looking. Well, they're looking for Peter Parker's supposed sister, but yeah, so they're like tracking down Parker because they're looking for Spider-Man and.
Yeah, well, you didn't take from that they know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man?
No, because I know they were looking for Parker and Spider-Man, but they were looking for Peter Parker because he employed Spider-Man until not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought because when they were saying that, I know the way I read it, maybe I misread it, but it looked to me like they were suggesting that they knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man when Spider-Man took off. Thought we maybe had a Waller situation here in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, but yeah, Jameson's like just in shock,
Yeah, well, as you are, and he reveals that he publicized his interview tonight, and that's how they knew to find him. So yes, so that was cool.
But yeah, there was some good stuff like the Power Pack one shot, the Legacy.
I was debating getting that one too. That looked really neat, you know. And so I guess Alex is still with the Future Foundation.
Yeah.
So he's off in a parallel dimension, creating universes.
They're all with Reed and Sue still. Yep.
Oh boy.
Oh, and then Guardians of the Galaxy. They're helping out the Nova Corps, but guess who's hanging with the Guardians of the Galaxy now?
Who?
Scott Lang.
Oh, okay.
And they get
sure.
In this issue, they get attacked by Ultrons.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you got to have all those tie-ins for the new movies coming out. Oh man, I guess we're never going to get Ultron back in the Marvel universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I don't know. But eventually, I wonder if they're going to have Scott Lang like appear in like Guardians 3 or something.
Well, he's going to be in. Well, they're all going to be
in Civil War, yeah.
Well, Infinity War, yeah.
Infinity War, yeah.
No, but who voiced Ultron?
Oh, what's his face?
Kevin Spacey.
No, Kevin
right?
Spacey.
No.
No.
Kevin Spacey. Oh, okay, never mind. Then I'm thinking of someone else.
No, it was,
okay.
I know his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. I could picture him in my head. I'm drawing a.
I thought it was the guy from House of Cards. I thought that was Kevin Spacey.
It was. Wait a minute. Where is it at? Yeah, James Spader.
Oh, James Spader. Okay, so they can bring him back. Good. Yay. Yes. I was worried about that.
Yeah, no. Yes, no. Our Ultron has not harassed anyone.
Oh, good. To our knowledge.
Yes, to our knowledge. Yeah, so far he's not on the ever-growing list.
Yeah, well, man, that list is going to keep growing.
That's depressing.
Well, you know what? I think it's an interesting thing. I think women finally realized they were 51% of the population and decided to quit taking our crap. So,
I mean, that's good. I'm just disheartening that so many men have done it.
Yeah, it is disheartening, but
the Spacey thing, it's not even
it's
not even just women either.
No, that was just him being just a creepo of another style. Yeah, he was being a gay creepo.
And I mean, look at the whole Spacey thing. Now Netflix isn't renewing House of Cards, and all these other actors and people behind the cameras are like, well, wait, what? We're out of a job? What?
Well, they could always renew it and just push him in front of a subway.
True.
And then start the story with his grieving widow wife. There we go, Netflix. There's your story. His grieving widow wife, who takes over his Senate seat like so much Bono, Mrs. Bono. We all remember Mrs. Bono taking over the Senate seat. That was actually once a grand tradition, as I understood it. Was you die in he's not senator anymore, now he's president. But but you get that idea of the wife putting herself in that position. Then you do a House of Cards with the wife, and that would be a great way. You can bring it back, Netflix. You can keep your House of Cards standing. Just push Mr. Spacey in front of a subway train.
I'm sure some people would like to.
Yeah, well, it's fitting because, of course, there's a very famous scene in the, I think it's the first season or the second season, where the female reporter gets pushed in front of a subway train to silence her. And so it would be a nice cyclical thing. So I'm sure someone's thinking about that right now. I'm sure the writer on House of Cards is going, oh man, what do I do? And they say, wait a minute, why do I just push him in front of a train? I know. It worked so well the last time. So there we go. So Kevin Spacey played Lex Luthor in the second Superman.
Superman Returns.
Yeah, Superman Returns.
Yeah.
So that character's gone.
I don't think that version was any of those versions of that movie were coming back.
Yeah.
Brandon Routh is now the Atom.
Yes, he's the Atom.
Did you see that picture I sent in today? It was the sneak peek. I guess they're working on this episode or whatever. Yeah, it's talking to John Constantine.
And what did we get revealed recently about the atom and alternate dimensions in the comic books?
Oh, the article, yeah, the whole Dr. Manhattan thing, yes.
Yes. So the suggestion is that Ray Palmer in the microverse, which is apparently not copywritten, anyone can have a microverse apparently. The microverse connects all the other infinite realities, and so Ray Palmer gets to travel between the realities. And I was just thinking, well, gee, where do we have a Ray Palmer in a show that has alternate realities? That would be cool. What would be really cool is if he starts realizing that all of the Barry altered timelines still exist.
Ooh.
Sort of like that Flashpoint, like they did in where you realize that old man Batman's still alive.
Yes.
Jeffrey D. Morgan, Batman. So that's cool. So yeah, excited about that. Excited about Legends. It's such a good show.
Well, like Lilith was saying, they planned that smart because I guess the Constantine thing. Constantine is like a 2-part episode. It's like the mid-season finale and then the the second half premiere. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to Constantine. I enjoyed Constantine. It was good. I mean, he's no Keanu Reeves, but he pulls it off.
I think they usually do the mid-season finale. Like I think it's usually the episode after the crossover. So
yeah. So there we go. So that'll be interesting. What else is going on? What? Yes.
I was gonna say I know we wanted to talk about last night's Orville.
Yes. Okay. The Orville. Stopped being a comedy last night. Did you notice that?
That could have been a Star Trek: The Next Generation episode, instead of.
It was totally a Star Trek episode. I mean, there was nothing in it that was. I mean, the only thing that made it an Orville episode was that the kids were brats.
Yeah.
And they really played up that the kids were brats.
Because I mean, that could have been Data, Dr. Crusher, and Wesley on that.
Yeah, Wesley had a sister.
Exactly.
Wesley had a little sister. Yeah, who was smarter than him.
Shut up, Wesley.
Oh yes, but it was very cool, and it was just a great story, and you got this real emotional growth between the Doctor and Isaac, who is like, I am both intrigued and worried about Isaac. Because I'm intrigued because I love the character. Because who doesn't love the hyperlogical character? They continued the long-standing tradition of the hyperlogical character and the ship's doctor being antagonists. But what I loved about it, but what worries me about Isaac is I get this feeling like at some point it's going to be revealed that he's like, well, yes, I'm here to learn about humans so that we can destroy you. We are the superior creatures in this universe. So, of course, eventually we must destroy you all. But it is best to learn as much as we can about you before we destroy you, so that we can make your deaths as painless as possible. But of course, that's going to lead into your big season 4 arc, where it's like he has to sort of defend himself because the Isaac Collective will start to think, we think you've gone native. We think your program has become corrupted. And we think we think you should be deleted. And he'll be, that is an interesting proposal. I'm not certain I agree. And it will...
Well, you said season 4. That was the other news this week. It's already been renewed for a second season.
Oh, yeah. No, this is 6 seasons in a movie, man. I'm telling you. If not 2 movies. I am so in love with the Orville. I really, and like I said, it is such a pitch perfect show. Everything about it. It could so easily be Star Trek, but it is Star Trek that really embraces the best things about Star Trek: the humanness of the characters, the problems of being on a ship, and although I like the idea that that the navigational arrays taken apart, and he's like, "Well, we'll do it the old-fashioned way with star charts," and his navigator's like, "Star charts." And And then, of course, they go through the fold, and we don't recognize any of these stars. Yes, so that was pretty cool. And it's just, and then you get the whole thing with the world that's dying of plagues. Oh, and that was actually a neat thing that I wanted to point out. Because, of course, they land on the moons of this large planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the moon, and one of these moons are large enough to have an atmosphere, because they're basically moons that are about the size of Earth or so. You know, they're good-sized moons. And here's the thing, because this is what struck me. You know the old, Ewok apocalypse story? That after they blow up the Death Star, all of the pieces of the Death Star are going to rain down on Endor and kill them all. And that, of course, is stupid and wrong and completely ignores actual how physics works. And do you know why, Phil?
Why?
Because it's the green moon of Endor.
Ah.
Meaning that it is orbiting a much larger planet that this Death Star is in the gravitational pull of as well. Because it's not orbiting Endor, it's following Endor as they both orbit a larger planet. So when the Death Star blows up, its pieces are going to rain down on that gas giant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe that might cause a fusion reaction within the gas giant, turn it into a little sun, which could kill all the Ewoks then. But that's a whole other Ewok apocalypse. So anytime someone wants... So, kids, the next time some big meanie Star Wars bully tries to tell you that at the end of... What they don't tell you is that at the end of Return of the Jedi, all the Ewoks died because the fiery Death Star rained down upon them. Say, no, it would rain down upon the planet that Endor orbits, not upon the moon of it, because Endor has less gravitational pull than the moon. It's obviously orbiting. Obviously, the Death Star was orbiting as well. So maybe you should learn a little physics, bro.
But yeah, I love Isaac was so Commander Data last night. I love when he was doing his impression of the Doctor to get the kid. When the kids were arguing, it's like if I have to come back there, I'm going to lose my mind. And he blows up the video game. I love that.
Yes. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was great, and of course, those things are funny, but none of it was unreal.
No.
And that's what's great about the show. It's like, those are funny moments, but those are actual funny moments in real life.
Yes.
These are real life funny things that these guys might have happen.
It was funny stuff, and most of what he did, you could have seen Data doing. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Absolutely. And his last line of it was great about how the Doctor's children were unruly, ill-mannered, and something else. And it says, and I've grown quite fond of them. And she says, "Welcome to the family." And here's what I'll say for that actor, man. I don't know if that's a different voice actor than the physical actor, or if it's the same person. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But man, that for someone in a featureless metal mask, that person can really express themselves physically as well as verbally. And I really love that actor. It's a really talented actor, or two actors. Like I said, I don't know. Because sometimes they'll do that. They'll have a different voice actor than that. Like, so for example, Dot Matrix was acted by one woman and was voiced by Joan Rivers. Yes. That's from Spaceballs, the movie.
But you were saying, Seth, the show's gonna go 6 seasons and maybe a couple movies. I'm thinking Seth MacFarlane's shooting for 7 because Next Generation, Voyager, and was DS9 7 seasons too.
They all went 7 seasons.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's gonna.
The only one it wasn't until Enterprise that they didn't go a full 7 seasons.
Exactly. But I'm thinking he's gonna shoot for 7.
Well, I couldn't remember exactly how much. I know it went more than 5 years. That it lasted longer than a 5-year mission. 7 seasons is fine, and a couple movies. Why not?
Oh yeah.
Honestly, it's a great thing. And here's what I'll tell you. You know what's great about a series like that? It doesn't have to end after. It's like this. Seth Rogen, or not Seth Rogen. Seth MacFarlane can retire from the Orville, and the Orville can continue on. Mm-hmm.
The whole
You can
universe
have
the whole universe could continue on, just like the Star Trek franchise. You could follow another ship when that's over. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm just the idea that the Orville could continue,
Mm-hmm.
and like that would have been like the coolest thing about if they had done the Enterprise is if they, if each season. Oh, see, there's a brilliant way to do an Enterprise series. You start with Archer, and then you just do subsequent iterations of the Enterprise.
You just wanted them to get the Pike.
I wanted to get to Pike. Why can't they? He's just sitting there. Literally. It's this great character that there actually are a couple of really good novels about Pike, so you get a little bit of characterization. I'd love to see the Pike number one dynamic again. The number one as a character was just fantastic in the novels because she does nothing in the actual series. Well, she does a few things in the original series. She's played by Majel Barrett, which is great. And then they dyed her hair blonde and made her a nurse because first officer was too much for the 60s, man. They could accept her as a blonde nurse. A brunette first officer, the world was not ready for that. Which is sad because I want to see a story about Pike and number one and young Spock. That's the story you tell with young Spock. You want to keep this, whatever the heck this guy's name is, as Spock. Great, put him on Pike's ship. Let's get rid of this Chris, the one too many Chris's, and actually get a real Christopher Pike.
Nice.
We'll get Chris Hemsworth to play Christopher Pike.
Oh, but,
can he do an American accent?
Who?
Chris Hemsworth.
I'm sure, probably. Yeah.
Yes.
But we were talking about Wesley Crusher before. He was on. Did you see this week's Big Bang Theory? Last night?
No, I think I missed it.
Okay, it was on last night. Yeah. Will Wheaton shows up for 2 seconds because Sheldon and Leonard find out that the Professor Proton's they're looking to recast Professor Proton.
Mm-hmm.
So Sheldon goes to Will Wheaton. He's like, I need an acting coach. And Will Wheaton's like, okay. And he's like, do you have Patrick Stewart's number? And he's like,
Patrick Stewart is the better actor. I mean, let's be honest here. It's not that insulting.
I know. And then Will Wheaton's like, no. And Sheldon's like, oh, you'll have to do. But they finally last night also after that they finally aired the second episode of Young Sheldon.
Oh,
the first episode I was kind of like, but the second episode I liked a lot better.
Oh, great!
I thought the jokes were there more, and the kind of had like a better story and stuff. But yeah. Second episode was in my opinion was a lot better than the first.
Oh, good. Yeah, I actually still need to watch. I watched like part of the first episode. I did like it. Mm-hmm. I don't know when it's. I cannot find TV shows anymore, and it's like it's so hard for me to watch shows anymore. But I'm very, as an example, I missed the Big Bang. I might have missed the most recent Gotham. I don't know. Was that last night?
Yeah, it's on Thursdays now at 8.
Oh, okay. See, I can't find anything. Yeah, I'm Grundy.
Well,
I'm missing my show.
If there was one episode for you to miss, there was no Grundy last night, so.
Oh, okay. You know what? That's because I know I saw the preview, and the next episode seems very Grundy centric.
Yeah, it looks like that. Yeah, from the preview, it looked like there's Grundy next week. But yeah, they're actually
good.
He wasn't on this week. So.
I just want the Grundy show. Yeah, because we see that what's her name, the girlfriend and Grundy. She sees Grundy. Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah. And there's nothing for that a sadist loves more than someone with a healing factor. So that was actually an episode of Drawn Together, where the Josie and the Pussycats pastiche, who likes to be a dominatrix, fell for the Superman pastiche, who was sexually dysfunctional, and because basically she loved the fact that she liked to cause people pain and he was invulnerable, and it was just so much fun that she could do whatever she wanted to him and it didn't bother him. Thrown Together is a very weird show. I will tell you that right now. If you ever see that was like one of those old. That was like a Adult Swim show, pre-Adult Swim. That was a Cartoon Network, or not a Comedy Central show. It was a cartoon. It was like a reality show. but all cartoon characters from various types of cartoons. And I remember they had one episode of like The Apprentice, and it was like a Richie Rich Donald Trump character who was
I saw the preview. I saw the
Yeah.
commercials and stuff, but I never actually saw the show.
It's a very dirty show, but it's also quite enjoyable at times. It was one of those shows like South Park where every so often you found yourself really enjoying it, even though you're like, oh, this is not appropriate for someone my age, you know. I'm not old enough to enjoy to be watching this show.
Well, I was thinking about you this morning because I was listening to one of Kevin Smith's podcasts, and he started talking about how, I don't know, he was thinking about death and his like mortality and stuff. And you know why?
Why?
It was an episode of Rick and Morty he watched.
Oh, which one?
Something about did he go to see the president or something? But and somebody tried to stop him, and he's like, and Rick said something to the guy trying to stop him, like, yeah, don't touch me, you know, or else you'll die, and if you know, you'll just like, all it is blackness. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing after death, you know, after death.
Yeah, that was actually the final episode this season, and but yes, he does say that. Yeah, yeah, this is not no way light, just nothingness. Which, not for nothing, is one of those things where it's like, but how could you know that? Because, you know,
well, that's what Kevin Smith said. He was raised Catholic, but he's like, that really hit home. It's like nobody knows what's, you know.
Well, nobody knows, so why worry? But again, like I say, what the importance of that episode is Fly Fisherman Rick.
Oh, was that episode?
That's that episode because he comes back as Fly Fisherman Rick, or was that the Get Swifty episode? I mean, that might have been the Get Swifty episode, but I think he would have mentioned the Get Swiftiness of it. But I think that's the episode that ends with Fly Fisherman Rick, and that is the Fly Fisherman Rick episode because that's sort of the start of it, because he comes in to tell the president he's not going to be his errand boy anymore. You know, he's not going to be dealing with their various alien infestations. It's like, get your own X-Files people to do that. And that's what leads to the fight. Get Swifty is it where he says he has a weapon that turns people into snakes, and when he like shoots someone and then they turn into a snake, and he says, "Nah, I can't really turn people into snakes. It's just a standard disintegration way. I just have a snake holster in my pants." Because what it is that you're more willing to deal with someone who can disintegrate you than than you think if it's something you don't understand. You don't understand how he's turning you into a snake. So that freaks you out a bit. You don't want to face him, but if you just said, "I'll disintegrate you," he's like, well, maybe you'll miss. And, you know, so then it's just a gun. A gun isn't as scary to people who deal with guns every day, because getting disintegrated or getting shot, you know, But being turned into a snake, that freaks you out.
Oh my.
I'm just saying, think about it. So anyway, but that is the Fly Fisherman Rick episode. That's the final episode, and that when he comes back as Fly Fisherman Rick, it's because mortality is the status of his existence, and when you are mortal, the only thing worth having is the relationships you create, and he doesn't want to have to start over. He is getting too old for this, and swallowing his pride and being Fly Fisherman Rick to stay with his family. That's what's important to him. Yep, because that's what growing up is sometimes you got to swallow your pride and just carry on. I think that's a good way to end the episode tonight. Phil, what do you think?
Oh yeah, words of wisdom.
Swallow your pride and just do what you got to do for your family. Phil, if people would like to talk to you about you and your family and how much pride you swallow every day, where can they find you?
I won't talk to you about work, but if you want to talk to me about anything else, especially if you want to do an interview with the Capes and Lunatics, you can get a hold of me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. And if you want to get a hold of us, discuss anything, Capes and Lunatics talk it all. capesandlunatics@gmail.com, and the voicemail for any of our shows, 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES.
Yay. And of course, if you'd like to follow me on the Twitter, since I live tweet things, which actually I'm not doing as much of because I like the shows too much now. It's like, I like the show. I don't want to live tweet it because I want to watch it. Because I was thinking, I should live tweet the Orville. I was like, no, but it's so good. I don't want to have to talk.
Hey.
I don't want to talk to you people.
Right
I want
now.
to watch my show.
Hey, right now it's Friday night at 8:04. If you want to punish yourself for bad deeds, Inhumans will be on in an hour. You can live tweet that. 'Cause I know you
Oh yeah, and that show I hate, so I'll happily live tweet that.
To distract you, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll live tweet the Inhumans, kids, and I'll probably live tweet the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just because I love it so much and I want to promote it. And I should do that with Orville. But it was such a good episode last week. But anyway, if you want to do that, follow me as I live tweet things at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle for quality. And of course, write to me in an old-fashioned email where we are, Moz and Poz once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for connecting with us. Please, super connect with us again. Good night.
Good night. Now for the end credit scenes. Oh my lord, I wonder how many end credit scenes Thor Ragnarok has.
Oh, two.
Two?
Did you know that the director of Thor Ragnarok worked on Green Lantern?
No.
Yeah, he didn't direct it. He wasn't the director of it.
Okay.
But I guess he was like a second unit guy on it or something, and they didn't have him do much, so he just hung around.
The movie should be good then, because he knows what not to do.
Yeah, there you go.
Remember, everyone, you watch my back, and I'll watch yours. Good night.